Ryan Stanton here with ACEP Frontline, and we are at Accelerate here in San Diego, and we're talking a little bit of mentorship with Matthew Stull, Dr. Matthew Stull, and part of the Teaching Fellowship, Phase 2. We talked to Dr. Shenvi, who I've determined is our co-host now of the podcast. I've interviewed her so many times since Scientific, actually just right before Scientific Assembly this year. I think she's done 5. But new to the podcast here, so first and foremost, kind of give us a little background on yourself.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a Jersey boy, born and bred, but have moved all over the Midwest for my training. I'm an EM intensivist, so I do both EM and critical care. I direct the Division of Resuscitation and Emergency Critical Care at Greenville, at Prisma Health, and the University of South Carolina. And I have, am dual trained, not just in critical care, but also in med ed. I did a fellowship. And absolutely sort of love the concept of mentorship, because it is one of those things that we all have experienced, but yet never necessarily get taught how to do. Mm-hmm. And so that has sort of become my niche in the world.
And interestingly, mentorship is so important, and yet so many times it's done so poorly.
Yes.
Just everybody's going to get a mentor, everybody's going to get a mentee, it's going to be, and just having that, an actual knowing what the hell's going on when you're doing it, and knowing how to guide people in the right direction, as opposed to just being a warm body that's been there, done that. So kind of let's walk us through the discussion and education that you did.
Yeah, sure. So I think the first part stems from understanding what a mentor is, right? What is in a word? Because, there's a lot of different names for what we do as educators when we're one-on-one working with people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're counseling them, sometimes we're advising them. And I think there actually is the exact piece that we mislabel, is we've all had lots of great advisors. Mm-hmm. Your program director in residency was an advisor. Their job was to get you from point A to point B. Could they have been your mentor? Absolutely. Can a PD be the mentor for everybody in their residency? No, they can't, because a mentor takes you to sort of a higher level relationship. This is some sort of informal relationship that you hopefully drive as the mentee, that helps you grow knowledge, skill, social capital, psychosocial support. Everything like that is encompassed in mentorship. And I think that name is thrown around a lot nowadays. We have research mentors. We have these kind of mentors. We get assigned people as mentors. In my opinion, to be an effective mentor, you can't be assigned. It cannot be a forced upon relationship. It has to be something that you cultivate and develop out of interest from the learner, first and foremost.
And interesting, you mentioned driven by the mentee, and I find that to be huge. Like with an ACEP, as a leader in the college, board members, whatever role you play, chairs of committees, things like that, you naturally become a mentor, but you're not assigned, even though every couple of years there's a resolution to try to force an assignment. But we find people with drive that kind of have that spark, and once they kind of engage that interest, show that interest, then pulling them in under our wing and kind of showing them, getting them in front of people, introducing people, some of the behind the scenes type stuff, and kind of getting their feet wet. And I think that's where EMRA is so good, some young physician stuff is good, but really just being at the meetings and showing interest, you'll find that the leaders are willing to be mentors. But you're absolutely right. It's not an assigned force thing. It's a interest and kind of a shared direction.
Absolutely. I look at my current situation. My current chairman that I work for, I'm employed by, was a mentor I met 15 years ago sitting on a committee at ACEP. Mm-hmm. And so having those opportunities to build not just your network, but find people who align with your vision, with your hope for growth, those sort of things, goes a really, really long way. And ACEP's a great opportunity to sort of explore that.
All right, dive in a little bit more on what we need to put into this.
Well, I think ultimately, It's EM, right? Let's get practical with how to be an effective mentee and mentor. And I think there are 3 big tips I sort of ask everyone to take home with them. The first is the idea that we need to lean into mentorship as a opportunity to really. So I think the 3 tips I always give people when we start thinking about mentorship is, first and foremost, lean into the understanding that you need more than one, right? No one person has your exact life circumstances, career, and the like. And so making sure that you find a myriad of mentors. I always call it mentoring, making sure that you have multiple mentors in your life and that your mentees recognize the value of a variety of advice from people across their life spans. So I really think it's important to do that first and foremost. The second piece is leaning into this idea that we need to empower the mentees to run the relationship. Ultimately, it should be a bi-directional relationship, but the mentee gets a lot more out of the relationship typically, just because of all the life experience that a mentor often has. And so I always ask my mentees to mentor up, meaning they should manage the relationship. They should recognize that, I'm an old school guy. I'd prefer to make this meeting over email and meet outside the office, not text me, right? I know there's a lot of people out there that like to be texted. Some people, it's the best way to get a hold of them is through their assistant. But let the mentee figure out how it is, or empower them with knowledge of how they can best manage you to get the most out of you. And sometimes that's, I do really good in 15-minute spurts, or I'd rather meet with you once a year for a long, deep dive. Whatever it may be, I think we need to empower those mentees to feel like they own the relationship in a lot of ways. And the last piece I think that's really important is to make sure that it's a safe space, right? Is always start with curiosity as the mentor. Ask more questions than providing answers, at least at first. Let them come to you with questions rather than just sort of lording your advice over them constantly. And I think if you lean into those 3 little tips, you can really be an effective mentor in a lot of different ways.
All right, so let's dive into a couple kind of the scenario-based, not scenarios, but just kind of angles that we're coming in at this. What are some of the biggest mistakes that mentors and mentees both make that will prevent it from being successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are all sorts of pearls and pitfalls along the way. I think there's undoubtedly the mentor that can serve as a bottleneck to the relationship. And this happens a lot more in those sort of research or work-based mentorship experiences where you give your mentee something to do and they bring it back to you. They're really excited about it. They're really proud of it. And then you kind of ghost them. You never necessarily follow through on your end of that commitment. So making sure that if you're going to lovingly assign homework, whatever that may be, that you follow up on that. Whether that's you're working on a research paper with someone and you actually edit it in the way that you expect them to, or you just say, hey, we talked about how challenging your current working relationship is, and here's a great book I read on that. Take a read and let me know, talk about it. I think the other sort of mistake that people sometimes lean into when mentoring, and again, I think it's completely accidental in the way that they do this, but they, for me, the other one is when you find a mentor that's busy. Many people are looking for that mentor, right? The more and more successful you are, the fewer and fewer people are available to mentor you that have been in that experience before. And so the more important and busy your mentor is, the more I think it's important to have that safe space where you can speak to them honestly and figure out how it is that they work in the world. When they're constantly traveling all around and you're trying to find 5 minutes to talk to them, you have to really have built a strong foundation on which to have these conversations, whether they be quick or, again, figuring out how to get a hold of them when you need them and managing that relationship, I think is really, really the way to overcome the sort of world traveler mentor that has a lot to give, but also very little time to give it in.
And I see that a lot with what I would do with motorsports, with the NASCAR side, as people interested in it. It's just really hard when I first started it, it was easy to get them out to a race. There wasn't a lot of competition for, access and those types of things. And now it's not the case. And so, being able to set aside that time and, and what I tell them, and it's like, I just need you to bug me. I need you to stay on it, because there's so much that comes in and out of my email and my phone every single day that if I will unfortunately forget, because there's 100 different projects today or whatever is going on. But your goals and what you're doing is very important to me. So just stay on me. Just bug me about it. I mean, to me, that's important, but I absolutely get that, the bigger the pond may be getting bigger, but the fish may be getting bigger, but the pond may be getting overall smaller for the number of fish that are in there.
Absolutely. I think you highlight exactly what I think effective mentors need to do, which is give their mentees permission, right? Give them permission, whatever that permission may look like, to say, bug me. By calling us a mentor-mentee dyad, I'm telling you, this matters to me, and sometimes you fall below the fold of the email, and therefore you just get forgotten. And it's not because I don't care, it's because I'm busy. And so please don't, giving that permission goes a really, really long way, I think, to being building a successful relationship.
And we see that with these 2 weeks around the ACEP board meeting. We get 1,000 emails. And, I actually told somebody today, I said, I need you to give it a flashy subject in all caps, because I need it to stand out, because everything else, that it's something new and different. All right, we've talked about some of the pitfalls, and you've actually leaned in a little bit on some of the tips there, but what are some of the things that really kind of shine as things or characteristics of the mentor and mentee that really make it successful, consistent?
Yeah, I think to some of the conversations we already had, accessibility is important, but ultimately, a trusting relationship is what you need, right? And that curiosity that defines a successful mentor, I think, is getting harder and harder to find in the world, right? We often trip into judgment way faster than we should. And so, when I mentor, one of the things I try to do is spend 80% of my time asking questions, and only 20% really answering theirs. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of times, with really thoughtful questioning, we actually get to the root of the whatever problem they're dealing with or the issue at hand. And I think we just need to take that step back, which is hard, because we as physicians are trained to solve problems quick, especially emergency physicians. Solve the problem as quick as you can. ABD, always be dispoing, right? But you don't dispo a mentee. You take the time to really get to know them. And so I think that's, for me, one of the biggest, most important pieces to take home.
As we wrap up the day, both of us had very long days. I was talking about when we started that East Coast does not respect the West Coast with regard to schedules. So I was up at 3:45 this morning doing my first radio hit, and you've been up early working and doing everything. Any final anything I missed or take-home message with regard to mentorship?
Yeah, I think one other thing to think about is, if you're going to do it, get credit for it, right? Whether you're an academician or not, making sure that mentorship is an area of your CV. When you think about it, medical education started as an apprenticeship model, and with the institutionalization and formalization, especially of graduate medical education training, we've become so focused on the checkbox and the classroom and the this and the that. But when you get right down to it, Osler trained people based on this mentorship relationship piece. They lean into that apprenticeship. And so get credit for it. You're spending a ton of time taking them out to coffee, dinner, just even investing, thinking about these problems. And so finding a space on your CV to list former and current mentees, it's a great way to lean into getting promoted, whether it be academically or just even being able to fight burnout by looking at that CV once in a while and being like, wow, look at all these people I impacted in the world. So don't forget about taking a little piece of this for yourself.
All right, give folks a way they can get in touch with you if they have questions or need further guidance on how to do it right.
Yeah, I'm at Matthew.Stull, Stull, at PrismaHealth, all one word, .org.
All right. You got to update your picture. Your picture in the speakers is without a beard.
Yeah, it's a new addition. It's only a year old.
Thank you. I like it.
Thank you.
And I grew mine out, and for me, the best part of having a beard, other than the fact it's going gray now, and I got to deal with that, is the fact that I can have all my born chins and keep them.
Absolutely. You can shed or put on a couple pounds and no one knows. The jawline still looks
My
good.
second chin hides behind the hedgerow. All right, so Dr. Matthew Stull, thank you so much for joining us. As for me, you can contact me, rstanton at acep.org, rstanton at acep.org, at everydaymed on X. And encourage everybody to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player and leave us a 5-star review. Help push us up so we can reach more emergency physicians around the country and around the world. And until next time, I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and this has been some ACEP Frontline.
If you're not on the front lines, you're on the sidelines.
Cue the music.
Bow, bow, bow.
Dinger. Quiet place, all
Yeah.
alone. Da, da, da.